What's up, Bills Mafia? Before we dive in, let's take a second to appreciate one thing. This Buffalo Bills team continues to push forward, constantly improving, constantly striving to get better. Whether it's on the field or behind the scenes, the organization is always looking for ways to evolve and dominate. So before we jump into today's exclusive story, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because we've got some fascinating Bills history, insider connections, and breaking updates on one of our young cornerbacks you won't want to miss. Let's start with something that's quietly shaped the entire identity of the modern Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott's Carolina Panthers pipeline. It's one of the most underrated storylines in recent NFL history, and yet, without it, the Bills might not be where they are today. When McDermott took the Bills' job back in 2017, he brought with him a philosophy: discipline, culture, and defense-first football. All lessons forged during his 6 years as the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Remember, that's the same Panthers team that made it all the way to Super Bowl 50, boasting one of the league's most dominant defenses. But McDermott didn't just bring his playbook to Buffalo, he brought people. Familiar faces, trusted veterans who understood his system, his mindset, and the kind of locker room culture he wanted to build. The first one? Fullback Mike Tolbert, a name Bills fans remember well. He might not have lit up the stat sheet, but he set the tone for toughness in that 2017 locker room. Shortly after came Kelvin Benjamin, the 2014 first-round pick the Bills traded for mid-season. It didn't end the way anyone hoped, but those were the early years. McDermott was setting the foundation. Then came Star Lotulelei, another former Panther who became a staple on the defensive line from 2018 onward. His presence, leadership, and experience gave Buffalo's front four stability as the team evolved around him. Fast forward to 2020, the year everything clicked. Josh Allen took a massive leap, the offense exploded, and the defense, anchored by several of McDermott's old Carolina connections, became the backbone of a championship-caliber team. Let's talk about a few of them. Darrell Williams, another ex-Panther, became a reliable protector for Allen. In his 2 seasons with the Bills, he started 33 games, locking down the right side of the line and giving Josh the time to become one of the league's elite quarterbacks. Then there were guys like Mario Addison, Vernon Butler, and Efe Obada, all defensive linemen who'd spent time in Carolina. That group rotated beautifully in 2020, combining for 7.5 sacks and 15 tackles for loss. Depth, versatility, and experience, all traits McDermott learned to value during his Carolina days. And who could forget Josh Norman? Yeah, the Derrick Henry stiff arm was brutal, we all remember it. But Norman also had his moment of redemption. Week 17, 2020. Pick 6 against the Dolphins. That play slammed the door on Miami's playoff hopes. So Norman's time in Buffalo wasn't just a meme, it was a piece of Bills history. Even now, that Carolina connection is alive and well. This season, McDermott added veteran linebacker Shaq Thompson, another one of his old Carolina players. With injuries to Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, Thompson's arrival is more than just a reunion. It's a strategic move. He knows McDermott's system, his expectations, and his leadership could prove invaluable as the Bills push deeper into the season. When McDermott finds players who've thrived under his system before, it's not about nostalgia. It's about trust. It's about building a locker room where everyone understands what the process really means. Now here's the poetic twist. This week, the Bills head to Bank of America Stadium, McDermott's old stomping ground. It'll be his first game back in Carolina since his debut season as Buffalo's head coach back in 2017. But make no mistake, this isn't a sentimental trip down memory lane. McDermott isn't coming back to reminisce. He's coming to win, to keep Buffalo from falling into their first 3-game losing streak since 2018. Every game matters now, and this one has just a little extra edge. Speaking of extra motivation, let's shift gears to one of the most promising updates of the week. Rookie cornerback Maxwell Hairston is officially back at practice, and for the first time since going down with a knee injury in training camp, he's speaking out about his comeback. Hairston was placed on injured reserve back in late August after what looked like a season-ending injury, but now he's in that critical 21-day return window, and Bills fans, there's real hope he could contribute before the season's end. At an event this week at Highmark Stadium, Hairston talked to WKBW's Matt Bove about his recovery, and his energy was contagious. He said, "Just getting out there yesterday felt good. Being part of the team again, putting the pads on again. That's something I'm grateful for." For a rookie who's been sidelined for months, that joy says everything. Hairston admitted this time off gave him a new perspective. He's been taking mental reps, studying film, learning how veterans react to certain plays, basically turning his recovery into an education. Now here's why this matters for the Bills. Buffalo's secondary has had its share of struggles this year. Veteran Tre'Davious White has shown flashes of brilliance but has clearly lost a step after his injuries. Younger corners like Christian Benford and Khair Alam have had ups and downs, and depth has become a serious concern. If Hairston can get back to full strength within the next 3 weeks, there's a good chance we'll see him activated to the 53-man roster, and the timing couldn't be better. Buffalo needs speed, youth, and fresh legs in that secondary. Of course, there's no guarantee Hairston becomes a star right away. He's still got a lot to prove, but he represents something this defense desperately needs: hope for the future and help for right now. Think about it, Bills Mafia. From Carolina veterans like Shaq Thompson to rookies like Maxwell Hairston, McDermott has built this roster on 2 pillars: familiarity and faith. He believes in players who know his culture and players who buy into his message. It's the same formula that's carried the Bills to 5 straight division titles and kept them in the AFC contender conversation year after year. Even through injuries, setbacks, and tough losses, McDermott's system continues to produce fighters, not quitters. This week's matchup against the Panthers isn't...
What's up, Bills Mafia? Before we dive in, let's take a second to appreciate one thing. This Buffalo Bills team continues to push forward, constantly improving, constantly striving to get better. Whether it's on the field or behind the scenes, the organization is always looking for ways to evolve and dominate. So before we jump into today's exclusive story, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because we've got some fascinating Bills history, insider connections, and breaking updates on one of our young cornerbacks
Buffalo wasn't just chasing another AFC East title. They were eyeing the #1 seed in the entire conference. The road to the Super Bowl running straight through Orchard Park. But fast forward just 3 weeks, and suddenly the mood feels different. 2 straight losses have dropped the Bills to 4-2, sliding them into second place in the division. The rhythm that looked so smooth early on now feels disrupted, and the road ahead just got tougher. According to the New York Times NFL Playoff Simulator, which runs 100,000 season simulations, the Bills still have a strong 90% chance of making the playoffs heading into Week 8. On paper, that sounds good, until you look deeper. Because that same simulation gives Buffalo just a 16% chance to finish as the top seed in the AFC. That's a stunning drop from where things stood a few weeks ago, when the Bills were projected at over 65% to grab that top spot. Let that sink in for a second. What was once a clear path toward playoff dominance is now a fight for survival. The real concern? The simulator now projects that the Bills have a 47% chance of entering the postseason as a wildcard team, meaning they'd lose their AFC East crown for the first time in 6 seasons. 6 years of division dominance could be coming to an end. That's how fast things can change in the NFL. Just a few bad games, a few missed opportunities, and suddenly the standings don't look as friendly as they once did. Of course, there's still time to turn things around, but the margin for error has gotten razor thin.
part of the problem isn't just what Buffalo's doing, it's what everyone else is doing too. The New England Patriots, yes, the same Patriots many left for dead, have suddenly surged to the top of the AFC East standings. Meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs have put their early season struggles behind them and are back to looking like, well, the Chiefs. And then there's the Indianapolis Colts, who've quietly stayed consistent all season long, holding down the top spot in the conference. The Bills, once viewed as the AFC's powerhouse, are now just another contender in a crowded race. And the road doesn't get easier. Up next, a non-conference matchup against the Carolina Panthers, a team that's better than its 4-3 record suggests. Now, on paper, this shouldn't feel like a season-defining game, but make no mistake, it is. The playoff simulator says that if the Bills lose to Carolina, their postseason chances would drop from 90% to just 82%. That might not sound catastrophic, but momentum matters, and another loss could send this team into dangerous territory both statistically and emotionally. Remember, the Bills haven't had a 3-game losing streak since 2018. McDermott has always kept his teams from spiraling, but this next game is as close to a must-win as you can get in October. So what's happening? Why are the Bills suddenly vulnerable? It's not one thing, it's a mix of little things adding up. The offense, once unstoppable, has looked disjointed at times. The running game hasn't had the same punch, Josh Allen has faced more pressure, and the line hasn't provided the same protection we saw earlier in the year. Defensively, key injuries have piled up. Losing Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard changed the structure of this defense. The secondary has been inconsistent, and the pass rush hasn't been as dominant since the hot start. The Bills aren't broken, but they're out of rhythm. And in a conference this competitive, that's all it takes to go from Super Bowl favorite to playoff hopeful. Here's where coaching and leadership have to shine. Sean McDermott's entire philosophy is built on resilience, on staying humble, staying hungry, and trusting the process. This is the type of moment where those words have to mean something. The locker room still believes in Josh Allen, no question. But this week is about rediscovering that identity, the fast, physical, relentless Bills team we saw earlier this year. The best teams aren't the ones that never fall. They're the ones that respond when they do. Bills Mafia, this is where you come in. You've been through worse. You've seen heartbreak, rebuilds, and missed chances. But you've also seen this team rise again and again. This moment, it's not the end, it's a test of belief. Can this team find its edge again? Can they fight through adversity, tighten up the mistakes, and reestablish themselves as the kings of the AFC East? Those answers start Sunday against Carolina in a game that might just define the rest of the season. Do you like seeing Sean McDermott leaning on those Carolina connections to keep building this team's identity? And are you excited about Maxwell Hairston's potential return to the field? Drop your thoughts down below. I want to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to Buffalo Beat News, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update as we follow the Bills on their journey back to dominance. Because one thing's for sure, Bills Mafia, this team isn't done improving. The best is still ahead. Buffalo, go Bills!